On today's instant reaction edition of Andy Ari on 3, presented by BetMGM, Fernando Mendoza has his Heisman moment and a comeback at Penn State. Oregon comes back in the rain and the snow at Iowa. Texas Tech smashes BYU. The ACC is in a blender. Wisconsin keeps Luke Fickell and wins. UConn beat Duke. The Zombies all lost. Well, one is still playing, but they're losing. We'll talk about it all and more on today's Andy Ari on 3, presented by BetMGM. We are presented by BetMGM. We use BetMGM lines and totals, and you can join us by joining BetMGM. If you have not signed up for BetMGM yet, use the bonus code CFB, as in college football, CFB, and you'll get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how that works. Download the BetMGM app and sign on using the bonus code CFB. Deposit at least $10 to place your first wager on any game. You'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use the bonus code CFB when you're signing up. So download the app, deposit at least $10, place your first wager, up to $1,500 if your first bet loses. Use the bonus code CFB when you sign up. Make this college football season one for the history books. Make it legendary with BetMGM. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. U.S. promotional offers are not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 in New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP in Arizona. Call 1-800-327-5050 in Massachusetts. Call 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa or 1-800-981-0023 in Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only, subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use the bonus code CFB and get your $1,500 first bet offer today. Welcome to Andy and Ari on 3, presented by BetMGM. Ari, we have so many things to talk about. This is one of those weekends where we came into the weekend and we're like, this doesn't look like a sexy slate at all. I think, tell me if I'm wrong here, there are more interesting individual results from this Saturday than there have been on any Saturday all season.
Oh, man, that's an interesting thought. There
aren't any huge earth-shattering ones.
Yeah. I mean, interesting results. I don't know that I would go as far as that this is the most jam-packed of any weekend because there wasn't anything shocking. I feel like shocking is more interesting than chalk. This is a pretty chalky day. I know there was a few teams in the ACC that lost. That opens up a pretty crazy ACC race down the stretch. I thought it was a revelatory Saturday, and it doesn't have to be crazy upsets.
Yeah.
To learn more information about the teams. You know, we are now heading into mid-November, and we're starting to get closer to trying to crystallize what this postseason is going to look like. And there were a lot of results that I think helped you understand things. Like in the Big 12, we got a pretty big result in the morning.
Agreed.
That I think, kind of tells the story of that conference. The ACC is a mess. So from that standpoint, I do think that, you might be onto something there.
And we learned something about Indiana, and we learned something about Oregon, and we learned something more about Texas A&M.
Right. And it's more confirmation of what we were thinking or what we may have been nervous to commit to. And I think that that's good. Like that Iowa game, you've listened to our show all week. I didn't see that result in that game coming. You certainly did. You were floating into Iowa City with the weather clouds. You were on it. But I think that we learned a lot about Oregon. I think we learned a lot about Georgia. Georgia was a team that Tyler Shoemaker had earlier on in the week as a fade team, playing Mississippi State. They won pretty comfortably. What does that say about
Destroyed them?
It wasn't even a game. And I think that Georgia's been a team that I found is pretty easy to fade. They came into the weekend losing or almost losing 3 in a row. This could be a spot where they finally trip up. In fact, no, it's the exact opposite. They show dominance. Notre Dame had another dominant win. Like I think that there's a lot to unpack here tonight, Andy.
I agree. Let's start with the two really exciting finishes in the Big Ten, because those are the ones that could have really shaken up the rankings, but didn't. You've got Penn State coming back, taking the lead against Indiana, and basically you've got Joel Klatt and Gus Johnson saying, well, if Fernando Mendoza is going to have a Heisman moment, this would be the time to do it. And oh my God, did he ever have a drive for the ages. And the Omar Cooper catch at the end of the game is one of the best catches I have ever seen in my life.
I still, to this day, being a, moderately overweight gentleman myself, I've never understood how these human beings contort their bodies in the air like that. It almost feels like the Matrix CE, like he's like floating out of bounds and somehow has enough body control while in midair to get a foot down. And if he was an inch away, it would have been an incomplete pass. And I am kind of like amused by this, Andy, because on one hand, like, yeah, that was Fernando Mendoza's moment, but like he made the second most impressive play in the most impressive play of the game. Like the Heisman moment should go to Omar Cooper. That was unbelievable.
Well, there was another great throw and catch a couple plays before that on the sideline. Yeah, it was one of those thrown in the only place you could throw it, but unbelievably caught. If that makes sense.
Yes, I think that he has already been pretty high up on the Heisman rankings, and I think that it's certainly rational if you think heading into November that he should be number one after that. Now, let me ask you this about this game. I want you to play a game with me called "Is Ari a Disgusting Hypocrite?" Okay. I wrote a column, and we were texting. I felt that was an impressive win for Indiana, because Indiana was in a position where it blew out 85% of the teams that had played this year, Andy. It finally was playing a semi to very talented team. It was losing by 4 in the final minutes of the game on the road in one of the most difficult environments to play in the country, and they marched down the field and took that win away. And I got a lot of people saying, hey, Georgia plays Florida close, and the SEC is a fraud. They play this team close in the SEC, and they're a fraud. What is your takeaway from the Indiana win? Is your Indiana win like, wow, that was impressive because they won in a way that we haven't really seen them win against a team that has maybe the second most NFL talent on an individual roster in the Big Ten, regardless of how terrible their season is going? Or was that a wake-up call that Indiana isn't quite as bulletproof as we've been making them out to be in the show? How did you digest that game?
Oh, I'm dropping them below Texas A&M in my projected playoff.
Okay, so you're going.
Texas A&M has had close game. They had a 3-point win in Arkansas.
Yeah,
but Texas A&M also has a road win at Notre Dame and a very impressive road win just now at Missouri, and so I still think Indiana's really good. But that is, like, we watched Penn State against Ohio State last week.
We did.
As impressive as that crowd is in Happy Valley, it's not that big of a difference point-wise. If we're supposed to think Indiana and Ohio State are somehow equal. Now, Indiana and Oregon are very similar, right down to they both went to Iowa and the same thing happened to them.
Yeah.
In bad weather. Well, this was bad weather for Oregon, but same thing. Very close game. Now, I don't think it matters because they're all going to have to play each other in the playoff eventually.
Yeah. It's low stakes.
But I mean, if you're going to say that about Georgia, you have to say the same thing about Indiana.
Right. Except it happened to Georgia a lot.
It happened to Georgia twice.
3 times in a row.
What was the third time?
What were the 2 that you're referring to? And I'll tell
Tennessee
you.
and Florida.
Auburn, I think, was a pretty close call.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it didn't feel that close to the second half.
The second half, they blew them out. So I guess that's a draw. You can digest that any way you want. But like then I saw what Georgia did today, and it's like, oh God, like I'm an idiot for ever doubting them again. Like what idiot doubts Kirby Smart?
But that's the thing. They're gonna do this and this and this. I mean, Indiana's in the same thing. Like Indiana has blown teams out, and they have played Iowa and Penn State now close. And that is just going to be the rhythm of the season. Like it happens to everybody.
Have it been working through these emotions today, Andy? And I think it's possible, and I'm willing to admit this, that my opinion of the SEC has actually been more harsh than it should be, because I still am viewing the sport from an old version prism. And I'm thinking that a team has to be like dominant week in and week out the way that Indiana and Ohio State have to be great. And I think that the truth is that teams are just going to struggle, and teams struggle.
They are, and like the Big Ten's going to get more like that as the years go by. It's just not. It's not in the same place the SEC is right now, but it's going to get there. And as far as the SEC goes, I don't know that you've been too harsh. I think we need to see the SEC teams play in the postseason.
And the one thing with the SEC too that I really don't, and maybe I've been misunderstood or maybe I've communicated poorly, Andy, is that my point has never been that the SEC is worse than the Big Ten. It's that the SEC is propped up in a legendary way that they might not be worthy of in the moment, which I think is a fair question to ask. And if you want,
I don't think it's really propped up that much anymore. So,
yeah, I mean, I think that
most everybody says this now. Exactly what you're saying.
I do feel
Who's not saying that?
Like beating Missouri feels more important than it would be to beat Washington, even though that they are one spot ahead.
Washington lost to Wisconsin today. We'll talk about that.
Right.
So
that's right.
Beating Washington might not actually mean much.
Yeah, but now beating Mizzou might not mean much. They also.
Well, and that's the thing. Like Matt Zoller's Mizzou versus Bo Perbula Mizzou could be very different. His numbers were not great.
But I guess here's the actual reality of it, Andy. Ohio State and Indiana have looked dominant in a way that most teams in the SEC haven't. Texas A&M, I think you could make the case, and you made it, that they should be number 2 with what they did. And they were on the road at Mizzou, and that was a classic Aggie trip-up spot, and they emptied another stadium. Like, they are, like, and I made this joke on Twitter, like the Texas A&M Aggies guys mathematically cannot finish 8-4. So,
that's
like,
right.
Let's take a moment.
8-4 is off the table, baby.
9-4 is still there if things went completely off the rails. And I hate to put that evil on you. That's not going to happen.
Losing to Samford at this point. So.
Yeah. But they are going to be a 10-win team this year. So let's take a moment to at least congratulate Mike Elko for a job well done. I don't know where this is headed. I don't know how good A&M actually is in terms of, is this a national title contender? My thought process is that they are. But at the very least, we always talk about building college football programs in the terms of like stepping stones, and like you've got to do X, Y, and Z before you get to the prize. And like Elko hopped over those. Like they didn't have a 10-win season before they made a playoff run. Like they are hopping over the 10-win season and going right into the playoff run potentially.
Yeah.
So, they are a really good team, and they were dominant once again. Now, I get it. They didn't have their quarterback, Mizzou, but nobody, that wasn't close. So,
right. And we've seen, like, we're watching a freshman quarterback at Nebraska play really well. Like, Zollers was a big-time recruit, so yeah, it's not like they probably had something to do with him struggling.
Sure. Yeah. Their defense is good, and their offense is good. What's their weakness? Yeah. What's their, like, overt weakness?
That they have not shown one. They in Ohio State have not shown one yet.
And those can pop up. We might not know it yet.
Notre Dame scored a ton on them, but Notre Dame's offense is really good. Like, yeah. I don't think that means that Texas A&M's defense is a weakness. I think it just means they played against a team that has a very high-powered offense. So, I think this is going to be really interesting, and I'm going to struggle, and I'm going to need your help.
Okay.
Because I've got to do the projected playoff.
Yeah.
And
it's getting tricky, isn't it?
I kind of want to do it. I would like to just project it the way I think it will end up, but I think that will, because you know what? You know how most people consume that story. They don't read the story. They just see the graphic.
And they want people, like, they want your graphic to reflect what just happened and what has already happened, not what you think is going to happen.
Exactly. Because if I'm trying to accurately predict what the field will really look like, then I can't, either I have Texas above Georgia or I don't have Texas in it at all. Like, let's say you wanted to move Texas up because some teams like BYU lost and you wanted to put somebody else in there. Okay, so in real life, the only way Texas makes it is by beating Georgia and Texas A&M, which would change where Georgia and Texas A&M are ranked relative to Texas.
I do wonder, and I don't know this, it's going to depend on how things shake out. If Texas can beat Georgia, lose to A&M, and make it in at 9-3, like I wonder if we're going to be
asserting, think a 3-loss team is on the table. And can I throw another thing out there?
Sure.
Actually, it was in the chat before we got here from YJP. If the ACC champ is someone like a 9-4 Duke with losses to UConn and Tulane, would not be too surprised to see the American champ and 12-1 San Diego State or James Madison make it over them. I think YJP is onto something here. I think there is a chance, and it is Duke winning the ACC, which is still possible. So Duke lost to UConn today. That was the 4th loss for Duke this season, but they've only lost once in ACC play. Joe Fagnano from UConn is a baller. 27-39, 311 yards, 3 touchdowns. He's been spectacular. UConn's 7-3. Jim Moore is doing a hell of a job there. They have since last year, Ari, Drew, one of our dedicated viewers/listeners, sent me this email tonight. Since the start of last season, UConn has 3 ACC wins.
Yep.
Florida State has 2.
Yeah, Brett McMurphy tweeted this too. There's another part of the stat that's pretty wild. They have UConn has 3 ACC wins. Florida State has 2. Sorry, I thought there was another team in there that also was doing very poorly.
No.
Repeated what you said, Andy. I don't know if I'm on board with 2 group of 5 teams are making it.
Is 9-4 Duke making it? Let's say San Diego State is 12-1 as the Mountain West champ, and then USF at 11-2 is your American champ, or Tulane at 11-2 is your American champ. You're putting 9. If it's Tulane, there's no way Duke's getting in over Tulane. Not a shot.
Duke does not win the ACC championship in this regard, right?
Duke can win the ACC championship.
Well, I know, but Duke would take the 1 ACC champion spot because that would be
Duke would not make the playoff. It is not guaranteed to the ACC.
That would be wild.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I was not thinking about that correctly because it doesn't.
People think that they are guaranteed spots for the power conferences. They are not. It is the highest ranked conference champs.
I just assume that all the power champs will get in, and I think that's a pretty safe bet. If Duke goes on to win with 4 losses, then I would be very interested to know what the committee would do. I still think that there would be a chance that they would get in because they won the ACC, especially with how competitive it is at the moment. But 4 losses.
Competitive? Is that the word we're using?
I don't know. How many teams are 5-1? There are like 5 teams that are 5-1.
Oh my God.
What word are we using? Is that not competitive?
Yeah, but the allegedly good teams are losing to the allegedly bad ones.
You want me to say that the ACC is top ass on the show for ratings? Because I'll do it. Is it?
I think everybody's saying that anyway. I don't think you have to. You're not really going out on a limb when you say that. So Virginia lived dangerously all season.
Yep.
They had no official ACC losses, even though they had lost to an ACC team in NC State, but that was a non-ACC game. Virginia lost tonight to Wake Forest. And Wake Forest now bowl eligible. Jake Dicker doing a great job. But Wake Forest got beat 42-7 by Florida State last week.
Yeah.
And they beat Virginia this week.
These are very fun thought exercises, but the fact is that it's probably just going to be Georgia Tech and Pitt or something.
Pitt is in control now. Louisville, this is the other big ACC result. So Louisville and Cal go to overtime. Cal was in the lead for most of that game. Louisville comes back, ties it up. Louisville kicks a field goal in overtime. Cal gets down to 4th and goal. And instead of kicking a field goal and going to overtime number 2, they're like, screw it. We're going. Justin Wilkins is like, we're going home one way or the other.
Nice simple route.
Yep. JKS makes the throw, touchdown. So Cal wins. So Louisville now has 2 ACC losses, which Louisville was had the tiebreaker over Pitt, which has 1 ACC loss. Pitt is the one that you got to watch out for because Pitt can do a lot right now. Pitt has games remaining against Georgia Tech, Notre Dame. Actually, I'll do it in order. Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, and Miami. If Pitt wins its 2 ACC games, it doesn't have to beat Notre Dame. If it wins its 2 ACC games, Pitt is in the ACC championship game against Virginia, I think.
You think? Yeah, I don't know. You have to do the math. I'm going to
Or Duke, maybe Duke, depending on what happens. Because Duke plays Virginia coming up.
Two very different schools of thought on this, which is, oh my God, Pitt is a 2-loss team with only one conference loss. Holy crap, they're really good. Or Pitt is in this position because they have not played Georgia Tech or Miami yet. Like, I don't know which one it is.
Basically, Pitt's season turned completely when Mason Heinschel became the starter. So Eli Holstein was a starter up through the Louisville game. In the Louisville game, it was looking very bleak. Things were looking bad. They went to Cole Gonzalez to finish the game. And then it was, what's Pat Narduzzi going to do for the BC game? He starts Mason Heinschel. They have not lost since. And now they're one of the most interesting teams in college football because they are the toughest game Notre Dame has left. And of course, they play Georgia Tech and Miami, so could very much influence who plays for the ACC championship, or they will play for it.
Pitt's ACC wins: BC, Florida State, Syracuse, NC State, Stanford.
Not great, Bob.
So, jury is still out there, but can somebody clear this up for me once and for all? Is Pat Narduzzi, has he been on the hot seat at any point? Coming into the year, this guy keeps beating, because last year they were 8-0, right? Did they start 8-0 last year?
7-0, and then they lost the last bunch.
But they are a topic of conversation on our show every year in November.
So Pat Narduzzi was a very expensive to fire person.
Okay.
Last year, at the end of last year, there was some rumbling, but they were never going to. It would have been too expensive. There was discontent after the Louisville game, but the way they've bounced back, they've been great, and they've got a freshman quarterback who, as long as they keep him, they should be in really good shape.
Yeah, they had an awful year in 2023, so I understand the frustration. But the last 2 years, they've been actually, last year really.
Last year was a mirage. They started off with wins against not necessarily good teams. The best team they played in that stretch was Syracuse, which had the worst game you can possibly imagine. That was when Kyle McCord threw 3 pick sixes in the first half.
Yes. So
it was a bit of a mirage. When they were going to play SMU, you knew, okay, they're about to get exposed, and they were. But this season's been different.
You don't see a lot of schedules that are green 7 in a row and then red 6 in a row. Winning 7 in a row and losing 6 in a row in the same year is wild. But yeah, I'm kind of willing to hold out complete judgment until we see this young, awesome freshman quarterback, whip it around against a good team. How do you say his name? Heinschel? I'm afraid to say
Mason Heinschel. Yeah.
Heinschel.
Yeah.
I've been watching him play. He's got a cannon.
So Miami wins today. They're still in it. They played Syracuse. Syracuse still can't throw. North Carolina won today. Another win for Bill Belichick. He beat Frank Reich, who I believe he beat in the NFL as well. I don't know how many times they played in the NFL, but Frank Reich was the coach of the Colts and the Panthers, while Bill was coaching the Patriots.
And they got Wake Forest next week on the road.
They do, and that's going to be a tough one for him because Wake's pretty good. Now, the Wake that played Florida State, they'll beat. The Wake that played Virginia, they will lose to.
Yeah, Robbie Ashford was out there playing like an absolute G tonight.
Mm-hmm. Robbie Ashford, and they were throwing Deshaun Purdy in there every once in a while too. So this was such a crazy, and he knew the ACC was bound for this. These teams that were winning by the skin of their teeth were not going to keep doing it. Virginia was the chief one there. Somebody was gonna get them, and that's what happened. Yes,
but yeah, ACC is still drunk, and we're here for it.
So let's move back to the Big Ten. We got to talk about Oregon going to Iowa. Yeah. It was rain that turned to snow, right? You had a 58-yard field goal in the cold driving rain from Iowa. You had a 93-yard touchdown drive from Iowa to take the lead. And then you had Dante Moore throwing a laser-guided missile that got Oregon into field goal range. I've never seen a ball just attach itself to the receiver's hand like that. Just the perfect ball placement.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack about this game. First of all, I didn't do my mulligan. even though Tyler Shoemaker told me to, and this is why you listen to experts when they come on the show. If you would have told me that Dante Moore would be 13 of 21 with an interception and 112 yards in this game, I would have thought exactly what just happened or a loss. So kudos to Oregon. And I also am very amused.
Well, I'll give you one of and if you'd have told me situation. Okay. If you had told me that Oregon would average 7.3 yards a carry and would need a game-winning field goal to get out of Iowa City, I would have wondered what the hell, did a meteor hit?
Yeah, I mean, it's great because they had 373 total yards of offense. They moved the ball the entire game.
Yeah.
Now, is anybody going to just laugh at the irony that when Oregon flew into Midwest hell weather, that the difference in the game was a safety?
Because the long snapper was off the first two snaps. First of all, the Iowa punter did a great job catching the first snap. That was the best catch anybody made all day there. And then the second snap was so far over his head, it was a miracle he got it out of bounds, out of the back of the end zone for a safety. Evan in the chat says, Andy, you called this game to a T besides the Iowa win. I did not predict an Iowa win. I predicted an Iowa cover and an Oregon win. So,
yeah. I think Oregon's an interesting team to try to analyze at the moment because obviously their signature win against Penn State is not going to carry much weight anymore, especially now that Penn State's lost, 5 or 6 in a row? Is it 5 in a row? 6 in a row. Their one loss is a 10-point loss at home to Indiana, which I think we can understand. But, does this win tell you that Oregon is a gritty team who can win in multiple ways, like we discussed during the show in the middle of the week?
I would say this does tell me that. What we haven't seen is Oregon dominate somebody pretty good.
No. Rutgers, but I don't know if that counts.
Yeah, that doesn't. Though they did beat Maryland today.
It is funny that you say that because I'm looking back. I've watched most of their games, all their games this year. They beat Montana State. Doesn't mean anything. They did beat Oklahoma State 69-3, but Mike Gundy did talk.
That also doesn't mean anything.
Doesn't mean anything. Northwestern, they controlled and were covering for a while, but really didn't blow them out in a way that is like Northwestern had to tap out. Oregon State, they beat 41-7. Again, might not mean much. Penn State beat them in overtime. Lost to Indiana, Rutgers 56-10, but Wisconsin and Iowa the last 2 weeks, 21-7, and then 18-16 today. I think that in order to be viewed as a scary postseason team, people want to see eye test stuff. But, Oregon's not out of the woods, man. They've got USC at home, and they've got Washington on the road to end the year, both of which are I guess Washington will be dropping out after today. But
yeah, but Washington still has 6 wins already. Brendan in the chat says USC has a real opportunity now. USC does have an opportunity now. USC also has to be very careful of Iowa because they've got to play Iowa. But USC beat Northwestern 38-17 on Friday. Jade Mayaba made one of the plays of the weekend in this game. He throws an interception. It looks like it's going to be a pick 6. He makes the tackle, forces a fumble, and the ball goes through the end zone. And USC was going to go down 21-14 on that one. And
that might have been the play of the year. Yeah.
Changed the entire tone of the game. King Miller has a huge run right after that. And USC goes on to, off to the races and wins the game. But that said, USC still got to play Iowa and Oregon. People are, what Brendan says, USC has an opportunity against against Oregon. I think USC needs to worry about Iowa.
Yeah, well, USC also has the fortune, if I'm not mistaken, of playing Iowa at home.
They do. So, they do not have to deal with this weather. It's next week. It's a 3:30 p.m. Eastern, so 12:30 p.m. local kickoff. Should be beautiful weather.
Yeah. So if USC wins their next 2 games, they're in the playoff, right?
They got to beat UCLA too, but yes, that would be
the next 3 games.
Yep, they would. I mean, they would definitely be in. They would have the wins. There would be no issue. In fact, I think they'd probably be like the 8 or 9 seed.
What would the wins be? They'd be Michigan and Oregon.
And Iowa.
Iowa will not be ranked if that happens. So
that's true. Iowa's probably going to be 8-4 if that happens. But
Iowa will drop out of the poll this week, and then if they lose a second one, they won't sniff the poll again.
Yeah, it'll be Michigan, The Nebraska win might look pretty good. We'll see how they wind up.
This is one question that I really don't know the answer to, because the College Football Playoff Committee only ranks 25 teams. But do teams still get credit?
Yes.
We know Iowa's a pretty good
team.
Because
they look at strength of schedule. They look at all the strength of record metric, which is what would an average top 25 team do against this schedule. So all of that matters. So like if Iowa and Nebraska both end up at 8-4 and USC has beaten them both, they'll get credit for that.
Yeah. And this is really good news for Notre Dame too, by the way. If USC keeps winning and climbs itself up into the top 13, top 12, that's a feather in Notre Dame's cap that they don't currently possess. Although it's still a quality win. You want that to be as sexy of a win as possible.
I don't think Notre Dame has anything to worry about. I think the committee told us that. Just beat Pitt, win out.
I'm very curious with Notre Dame. And we've beaten the shit out of this topic this week, so I don't want to overdo it.
Well, the Notre Dame people think we hate them. The fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter which teams were in that situation. It happened to be Notre Dame and Miami. We would have said the same thing. When you ignore the results of a head-to-head for two teams that have similar resumes and the same record, like, why did you bother playing the game? Why didn't you simulate it? So we're going to say that. It's nothing personal against Notre Dame. We were going to say that if they did that, and they did that. But
it's one of the rare times where I have taken a beating on social media from a fan base, and you're in agreement with me. So I feel pretty good about that. Whenever
I don't care. Like, because people only remember when you hurt their feelings. How many nice things have we said about Notre Dame over the years?
I know. But what I'm saying is usually when I rile somebody up, you're there to reel me in and say, hey, you're being irrational. And it makes me feel good that you're viewing it the same way that I am.
Oh, it's not irrational at all.
And
the Notre Dame fans doing the mental gymnastics to be like, but our game control. No, it's stupid, okay? They played the game. But it doesn't matter because Notre Dame is where they are in the rankings. The committee has already said they don't care about that individual result. So let's go forward based on where they are. They're fine.
There was a team last year.
Crap out of Navy in the snow.
There was a team last year, and I can't remember who it was, and I need to go look this up, that was in the top 11 or 12 when the first rankings came out. And then they hovered around 11 and 12 and 10 all season. And I'm very curious if the first poll is going to have Notre Dame very highly ranked, but it's going to be harder for them to move up. Obviously, as teams lose.
I think it'll be very difficult for them to move up, but I also don't think they're going to get dropped out as long as they win.
No, what I'm curious about is if the teams that we have gripes about being behind them keep winning, if Notre Dame will stay in the same general area in the polls and those teams will move up, and then we'll have a situation in late November where the head-to-head discussion and the results of that game discussion start to matter more. Like in the moment right now,
if Miami wins out.
Like if Miami wins out and they climb up to number 11 and Notre Dame's number 9, the head-to-head will become more relevant because then the things that are negging Miami in the moment, which is they are inconsistent or they, are 2 of their last 3 games have been losses, is no longer relevant because they'll have won 4 in a row. If like I don't think that your thought process and a lot of people's thought process is the committee has already told us what they think about Notre Dame. Don't bring up Miami again. The decision's already been made. And I don't think I agree with that. I think that Miami
if Miami gets close to them, I do think they'll consider it again. But I don't think they're going to take Notre Dame out of the playoff. Jackson in the chat says, didn't you say a few years ago that the committee uses groups of teams to compare? Example, Texas, Notre Dame, Oklahoma, Utah, since they view them all between 10 and 13. That's true. They go in groups of 3. So what this means is they don't consider Miami in even the same peer group as Notre Dame right now. So I'm telling you right now, they've told us what they're going to do. Notre Dame's in if they keep winning. So now they may not go up. I think Notre Dame may go up a spot this week because BYU's dropping.
And Texas didn't play, so they won't jump them.
If Texas beats Georgia, Texas will jump way over Notre Dame and over Georgia and probably land around where Ole Miss is right now.
You know what the real answer to this is we keep talking about Notre Dame and Miami head-to-head, the likelihood of both of those teams only vying for one spot seems to be like almost zero. If Miami gets in, Notre Dame will also get in. Like, I don't think that it's going to be.
I would agree with that.
Yeah,
I would agree with that. And I think if Miami gets in, the way, kind of the only way Miami does that right now is they would win their next 3 games, and then they would win the ACC championship game.
I just really struggle with playoff talk because, like, on one hand, I do believe that if Miami and Notre Dame played next weekend, I would pick Notre Dame to win. Okay.
And that's why they're doing this, because they've moved. The SEC and the Big Ten wanted them to move to these different metrics, which are mostly predictive power rankings, just like the line makers use in Vegas.
Yeah. But
Notre Dame would be favored over most of these teams. That's why they're doing it,
though, because who cares what I think, right? Like, I think that Notre Dame is better than Miami right now. I think that. I think I see and watch the games the same way that everybody who's mad at me does. But if we rank teams based on what I think, Mr. can't even get to 500 in any single pick weekend that we do, then who gives a shit what I think? I suck at picking games. And they played the game, so I struggle with that. What should I emphasize more? Should I emphasize the game that they already played and the result that happens, or should I go by what
the other point that people make is Louisville also is a 2-loss team.
Yeah.
So do you not have to factor in their head-to-head win against Miami?
The thing that makes it a little bit different for me is that Miami also has a win over USF, which isn't in the rankings at the moment, but that might turn out to be another playoff team win on their resume at the end of the year.
Could be.
And I don't know if Louisville's overall schedule, like, that would be the head-to-head tiebreaker, but I think that Miami's resume is better, so I don't take the tiebreaker into account.
Right.
That's how I'm
and now Louisville needs help to make the ACC championship game. Like, they're 2 losses in the ACC, just like Miami, but at least Louisville has the tiebreaker over Miami.
Yeah.
So Miami needs somebody else to beat Louisville.
Yeah. But it's a fun discussion, and I really like doing it. But I just do think that, like, if we're going to pick teams and rank teams based on what we think they're going to do, then do the whole poll that way. And if you want to use the results of the games and use the quality wins, then do the whole poll that way. I feel like
congratulations, Alabama will stay at number 2 even if they lose 3 more games.
Yeah,
if they really did it based on the power
rankings, if that's what we want to do, then just do it on power rankings. The thing that drives me nuts is inconsistency in the same poll. Like, you think about it one way at number 11, 12, and 13, and you think about it differently at 1 and 2, and it bothers me.
Well, and they didn't do that with Oregon last week either. And they didn't do it with Texas Tech, because Texas Tech would have been ahead of BYU if you're just using power rankings. Let's talk about that. We didn't talk enough about Texas Tech and BYU at the beginning of the show.
It's important to get to this. Yeah.
Texas Tech obliterated BYU. BYU couldn't do anything offensively against Texas Tech. That defense is spectacular. So I'm trying to figure out where to put Texas Tech in that projected playoff. I think I may have them 6, sorry.
I like that. I think Texas Tech is the only team not in the Big Ten or the SEC that I currently think could make a run in the playoff.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
No, I look at their talent relative to the talent of the other teams that we think are going to be in the playoff, and I can see them going head-to-head very well against most of those teams, as long as Baron Morton's healthy.
I think, and by the way, I don't know, look, I didn't go to medical school, but Baron Morton does not look 100% to me. Watching the game, did he look 100% to you? And it still wasn't a contest. Now, Texas Tech's defense was awesome. It didn't even feel like BYU was going to score that game. But I still think that Texas Tech, from a talent perspective, is like the Brett Yormark fantasy that he never thought could even come true. Like, when you're Brett Yormark, you have to act and boast and prop up the member institutions in your conference. That is your job, to make them marketable. He's done a very good job of being creative and keeping the Big 12 relevant. But if Texas Tech has actually found a way to situate itself with a roster that is comparable to top-tier teams in other conferences. Now, I don't know if they're as talented as Alabama or Ohio State or Oregon.
How do they, but how would you stack them up against Ole Miss?
I think that would be a fun game to watch. And if you stack them up to Ole Miss, that gives the Big 12 a legitimate team that could make a run. That is the one thing that's been lacking. The Big 12 is wildly entertaining. We have our 3.5 point coin. Any team in that conference can win every week. That's been a fun, lovable experience as a viewer. But the problem with the Big 12 is when Texas and Oklahoma left, you took 2 tentpole programs out of that conference that could win a national championship conceivably, and you reallocated that to another conference that already had 4 or 5. That left the Big 12 with none. But Brett Yormark was talking, and you were there at Big 12 Media Day with me earlier in August, about the need for them to have multiple teams separate from the pack. And I don't even know if I agree with that. I think they just have to have one team that can make a playoff run and do it over and over and over again. Because what could you do? You have to replace Texas and Oklahoma with the consistent national programs. And if Texas Tech is going to have money infused into its roster year over year, I don't know what Cody Campbell's prepared to do. But if he gets a return on his investment this year and this team makes the playoff and wins a game or two, why wouldn't he want to do it again? I would want to do it every year. And then all of a sudden, Texas Tech is a program that we don't think is a Cinderella. I think people view Texas Tech as a Cinderella. No, they're a team that bought their roster the way that other teams in bigger conferences have done.
So Zachary says Texas Tech winning means the Big 12 has only one bid. Maybe, but maybe not. Because there is one other team in the Big 12 that the committee seems to like a lot, and that's Utah. And if Utah keeps winning, so that's the question. I think BYU probably has to lose twice more, but they could because they play TCU and they play at Cincinnati. Now, if Cincinnati beats BYU, then you're probably looking at a Texas Tech Cincinnati Big 12 championship game. But Cincinnati already has 2 losses, including one to Nebraska. So maybe, but what if Utah were to get shut out and they're 10-2 and the committee just thinks they're the 11th best team?
I think I agree with the comment.
So you think that limits it, probably opens the door for another SEC or Big 10 team?
I think if Texas Tech proves that it's in a league of its own this year, which I think they're doing, especially because their lone loss came without their starting quarterback, which I don't know if that's the reason they lost. It still seemed to me that Arizona State would have been able to win if Morton played that game. And that was obviously before Sam Levin got hurt. But if the thought process or the just general school of thought is Texas Tech is in a league of its own, that's a tough proposition for the rest of the conference to get another one in.
Yeah. Ari, can we talk about some of the teams that are not going to make the playoff? Because there were some games between teams that are not going to make the playoff that were very interesting for various reasons.
Sure. Let's do it.
I think Mark Stoops is going to keep his job.
Shoemaker went 2-1 on his best bets. The kick yourself in the groin parlay didn't hit because Georgia just beat the crap out of Mississippi State, but the other two were Kentucky and Iowa. And Kentucky I said it would be painful to watch. That was a joy to watch if you listen to him.
That's as good as I've seen Kentucky look in a long time. Carter Boley was carving Florida up. DJ Lagway got benched for Florida. Tramel Jones, who, if you've been reading the message boards at Gators Online, there have been some people clamoring for Tramel Jones, so you saw him at the end of the game. We posted something at On3. The On3 main Twitter account posted that DJ Lagway had been benched. Guess who retweeted that post?
I know who it was. Lane Kiffin.
Lane Kiffin.
Yeah.
Which doesn't mean anything, so don't jump to conclusions, but I guarantee you it launched multiple message board posts.
Yeah. So this is Matt Jones came on our show and said this was going to happen. And didn't he say that this was like the worst case scenario if they finish with 5 wins? Or 6 wins? Like, so your thought process.
They got 4 now.
You think that they're going to that Stoops is going to keep his job, but Kentucky still has. They're going to have 5 wins, I think, because they play Tennessee Tech next week. Although Tennessee Tech, right, is really good.
Tennessee Tech is really good in the FCS.
Yeah,
yes. And then they're at Vandy and at Louisville. So it may be that they lose to Vandy, lose to Louisville, and are 5-7. But yeah, that's going to be a tricky one when you would owe him $37 million.
But he literally called it on the show. He knew this was going to happen. He's looking. He's been covering this team for a long time. He said they're going to win one of them, and it's going to confuse people. And I wonder if people are confused. Like, how do Kentucky fans feel right now? Are they like, okay, I could do another year of Stoops, or are they like, God damn it?
Like, I think they feel good. I think they feel like they got a quarterback.
Okay.
Cutter Boley looked great tonight. Okay. That's the best he's looked. So Yeah, I'm excited to see what he does going forward the rest of the season because they really did look. And sometimes teams find themselves along the way. Now, yes, the Florida fans are all like, remember all this. This is like when Florida beat LSU and Ole Miss last year and they kept Billy Napier. Yeah. I can't tell you Kentucky fans what's going to happen there. Well, like that's what we're dealing with here.
Kentucky's administration is like, oh God, I don't want to pay that buyout. At least they don't look stupid by keeping him. Like that's better. Right. Now, the thing that I want to really talk to you about, because you are really got your finger on the pulse of this, is DJ Lagway was benched in this game. Mm-hmm. And does that make you feel like he's not going to be Florida's quarterback next year?
I don't know, because you talk to people about the coaches that they might want, and you're like, okay, well, what does this person think of DJ? What does DJ think of this person? I don't know. I really don't know, because it might be that the person they hire has somebody else in mind completely. Because I keep wondering, do you look at him and see the tools that you saw late last season and say, I can unlock that in him? All the coaches think that, right? All the coaches think they can save somebody. They can fix somebody. But the fact of the matter is, he's not been very good this season. And that might be what he is.
I had a real in-depth conversation with some friends today in a group chat about my number one toxic trait. And that is speaking in definitives when things aren't definitive. And they make fun of me for my Arch Manning take. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to step right back into the bear trap and say something definitive again, even though I have a chance of being wrong. Oh boy. There is a 0% chance he's not the starting quarterback at a power school next year, right?
Oh, that's a definite. Okay. He will be the starting quarterback at a power conference school. Yes. Okay. 100%.
Okay.
No, whether the person who gets hired at Florida wants to keep him or not, if they let him go, somebody is going to take him. Somebody will be happy to take him.
Because you know what? Like, if you put him on a roster that had a lot of good players and a good coach, like, I still think that would be a very attractive person.
This roster has a lot of good players.
No, I know.
He currently exists on
this year. It's been highly dysfunctional. I think that if you put him on a functional team with a good coach who has a track record of getting the most out of his team, and I don't know where that is or who that is. I mean, we'll find out, I think, in January. But I would find him to be a 7-figure asset in the portal if he enters it.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. No.
And I'd be excited about it.
All you have to do is watch the Ole Miss game from last year, and someone will throw a giant bag at him.
Somebody just said, like, Miami's next transfer quarterback.
Doubtful, but maybe. Who knows?
And it's college football. You never know. I don't know. I feel
Matt Miller, the draft guy from ESPN's like, sources are telling me that Miami's going to break the bank for a transfer QB. He said this like Thursday of last week. I'm like,
okay, yeah, great.
Yeah, that's what they do every year, Matt. Like, we know.
Me to expect the sun to come up tomorrow.
Yeah. Speaking of places where they're keeping the coach, let's go to Wisconsin. I wrote a story on Friday. I talked to Chris McIntosh, the Wisconsin AD, for a little while on Friday.
Very well.
And because I wanted to understand why they were keeping Luke Fickell. It's the same. We've had the discussion on the show a bunch. Chicken egg. Like, did Fickell not get the resources he needed? Did he get the resources he needed, but just didn't shop well enough? And I think we know the answer to that now. I think he didn't get the resources he needed. McIntosh, very open about that. And to like Chris McIntosh, to his detriment, says that because it reflects badly on him and the job he's done. But he understands that. He also understands that probably he's tied to Luke Fickell. So I don't know. I think it's very interesting that they chose, we're going to raise $100 million to build an indoor facility. Whereas like Ole Miss, the Keith Carter, the athletic director there, goes, we're going to stop the stadium renovations, and you donors, put that money towards NIL because we'd like to win now. And guess who's doing better? So, but that said, Luke Fickell gets kept, and Wisconsin goes out and beats Washington. Now, they did it in a game where their punter was their leading passer. The quarterback they put in, the 4-star quarterback that they put in, can't hit the broadside of a barn, but he can run. And the defense, led by 2 freshman linebackers, was awesome in the snow.
I want to go back to McIntosh for a second, because this is the thought that when I read it, this is my thought. What makes him look worse? Admitting that Luke Fickell isn't the guy? Or acknowledging he wasn't given the correct resources?
I think they both make him look bad, because he chose Luke Fickell, and it's his fault that Luke Fickell didn't get the correct resources.
But I feel like acknowledging publicly that Luke Fickell didn't get the right resources is the only way out of the mess that he's in. Because you get another chance to build a roster that might be good. You get another chance to try to win 10 games, and then you can still come out at the end of that tunnel looking like you did the right thing. I read that skeptically.
I did too. But I do, and there are some things that have happened to them this year that have made them almost non-functional at times offensively. Like when you're on your 4th center, when the center you're starting is a guy that you took in the spring portal that you thought might replace the left tackle you lost to a torn ACL in the spring, and you started him against a MAC team and you had to bench him halfway through the game against the MAC team at left tackle, and now he's your starting center, that is a scary prospect. And he's the 4th center you've used. So they have had some unusually bad luck. So I will give them that.
Yeah, and he hasn't had a healthy quarterback. I don't know if that's the only thing or if he made the right decisions, as you point out, at that with those players. I got to say, awful look for Washington tonight, too. Finally creeping into the rankings. You know, you started to get some momentum there. You're 11 spots out of playoff contention. I think you could even make the case before coming into the weekend that they might have had an outside shot at making the college football playoff to lose to Wisconsin. I don't know if that was like purely vibes in Madison. We have our coach. We can relax a little bit. We're not so much tension. He's coming back next year. We're going to right the ship, whatever that was. You cannot lose to that Wisconsin team.
Yeah.
That was bad.
Carter Smith is the quarterback that they put in. He's the young guy. He was the recruit they brought in. 3 of 12 for 8 yards. Now, granted, it was snowing. It was a driving snowstorm. But 3 of 12 for 8 yards. Their punter, Sean West, was 1 of 1 for 24 yards. It was incredible. But Cooper Catalano and Mason Posa, the 2 freshman linebackers I mentioned, they combined for 20 tackles. They combined for 30 tackles. 30 tackles. 2 freshmen.
Welcome to the Big Ten West, Washington. You succeeded.
Yeah, that was the Big Ten Westiest game that's been played all season.
The Big Ten West is dead, but it is still so alive, Andy.
Oh my God. Yeah, listen. Barry Alvarez is looking at that, and Barry Alvarez never played in the Big Ten West. He just essentially created the blueprint for it, or maybe Hayden Fry created the blueprint for it. But yeah. Those guys are like, this is football right here. Jump around in the snow was spectacular, by the way. Absolutely spectacular.
I mean, that's still great that they were able to pull it off. There's some other results too here, Andy.
Yes.
It looks like Nebraska is going to hold on. Now it's not over yet.
It's down to a touchdown. They were up, I believe, 28-7. Now they're up 28-21, but they have the ball and the clock is running. We're at the 2 minutes.
It's under the 2-minute warning, and they're at the UCLA 30. And I was peeping this game. TJ Lateef.
Mm-hmm. Has he thrown an incomplete pass yet? Because he hadn't in the third quarter.
13 of 15 for 205 yards and 3 tutties. And very slippery player. I'm not going to contrive some fake quarterback controversy when Dylan Steele is out for the year. But what I will say is that Nebraska winning this game, if they do it, and this would be the ultimate curse if they wound up losing somehow. I'm going to assume that they're going to win. Puts them in a position where they are 7-3 and have games against Penn State and Iowa I still think that, they can have a successful year despite the fact that it all fell apart last week. And I thought it was a nice bounce back win for Matt Rule and his team.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Let's go to Tuscaloosa.
Yes.
Alabama beats LSU 20-9. Barely covers, but covers. That's the key. They covered.
Needed that one.
I don't know what to say about this, because we talked to Cole Kublik before the game, and he had LSU's last game. He had the one where they lost to Texas A&M, and he's been around this team a lot. And he said they're going to give Alabama their absolute best. This will be the best shot you see from LSU the remainder of the season, probably. And they did hang, but I think Alabama's defense just was going to be too much for that offense. That's why I picked Alabama to cover a 10.5-point spread. I just didn't see LSU being able to succeed offensively against Alabama, and they couldn't. They pulled Garrett Nussmeier. He was 18 of 21, Ari, but only for 121 yards. So 5.8 yards per attempt. So that's why they pulled him from Michael Van Buren. It didn't spark anything.
Yeah, it was one of those games where they were within a possession for a lot of the second half, and it never felt like they had even the slightest shot of winning the game.
Yeah.
I think that Alabama has unequivocally deserved and proven that it should be the number one-loss team, or highest ranked one-loss team. Ty Simpson, I think, is playing obviously great. I don't think that we should even talk about the Florida State game anymore. Like, I am ready to move past that completely. Like, that was clearly a fluke. Georgia, Vanderbilt, Missouri, Tennessee, South Carolina, and LSU is quite the gauntlet. They had a close call against South Carolina, but for the most part have traversed that pretty tough stretch without really feeling like they were going to lose maybe once.
And they get Oklahoma next week, so they have to eliminate Oklahoma from playoff contention. Or they don't have to. They could lose to Oklahoma and still.
Yeah, if they go 2-1 down the stretch with one game against Eastern Illinois, they're in the playoff. So
Zombie Auburn, they got to worry about Zombie Auburn.
Yeah, Zombie Auburn scored some points on Saturday.
Zombie Auburn was the only zombie team that really gave anybody. Well, I guess UCLA got within a touchdown, but Zombie Auburn was up 17-3 at one point on Vanderbilt, and ended up having to come back. They go to OT. Vandy wins in OT. Cam Coleman made a couple of the best catches you've ever seen back to back on a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, okay, Hugh Freeze was the problem offensively. We can say that, but DJ Durkin's defense got carved up by Diego Pavia. This is the best anybody's looked against this defense all year.
Ashton Daniels had 353 yards passing on 31 of 44 attempts and 2 touchdowns. Cam Coleman, I think that whoever gets hired at Auburn, the number one responsibility is to do every single thing in their power, both vibes-wise and financially, to keep Cam Coleman on this team. He has been in a circumstance that has not allowed him to shine. I think Cam Coleman is one of the stars of the sport. I was obsessed with him in the offseason. I'm obsessed with him now. I believe he will be a first-round pick.
What if he just goes to Ohio State?
I shouldn't allow that. That should be against the rule.
How funny would that be?
Just keep him. Just keep him Auburn and do what you can to allow him to flourish, because he is a special NFL talent that will be playing football on Sundays for many years to come. And it is unfortunate that his circumstance and decision to go to Auburn has stopped him. He's making money. Like, it's not like I feel bad for him, but it has stopped him from being a fixture in the national conversation. And I think that he has a big enough talent where 85% of the sport should not know who he is. That was a double negative. Mm-hmm. Like, if you did the Nashville, because they did play Vanderbilt in Nashville.
Oh, yeah. Let's go down on Broadway and see the bachelorette party. Do they know this person's name?
No, I don't even want to ask bachelorette parties. I want to ask anybody who's wearing a school polo or anybody who is wearing college football attire who Cam Coleman is. Percentage-wise, how many people do you think know?
50. You're in the South.
Yeah. It should be 90. It should be not like I can say with a straight face that he's the top 3 receiver in college football. Do you agree with that?
No. I think he can be. But I don't think we've seen it consistently enough. Now, maybe that's the quarterback's fault that he's playing with.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's Hugh Freeze's fault.
Seen it. I've seen enough.
He's pretty spectacular.
Yeah. I mean, there's only one that is not a discussion when you're picking.
Well, remember, you've got Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, Mekhi Lemon, Jeremy Bernard. There's a lot of good receivers. Denzel Boston at Washington, though he didn't have a very good game today. Jordan Tyson at Arizona State. Like, there's a lot of good receivers.
Yeah.
So
Cam Coleman's going to be in the NFL for 10 years.
Oh yeah. No, he's very good, and he's been underutilized, and they need to fix that.
Now, I want to drag you into the pits of Ohio State hell for a second. I watched the game today. I'm trying to think of new ways to discuss this because it's not entertaining. But we do this every week where we talk about how dominant they are. And, Julian Sayin is coming along. That's what I wrote last week. Clearly, he's a very good player. He was 27 for 33 for 303 yards and a touchdown. Do you think that Julian Sayin is playing really well because he has Jeremiah Smith on his team? And I'm not taking it away that he's not. I think he's a great quarterback. But I think we have the Heisman wrong. I think that Jeremiah Smith.
We have the Heisman.
I think we're voting on the Heisman.
Ty Simpson's going to win the Heisman.
I'm saying the Ohio State candidate.
Oh, you think it should be Jeremiah?
I do, yeah.
What about Carnell Tate?
Carnell Tate's having a great year, and I think that he is going to also be a pro for a long time.
I don't have a problem with this. This is the Mac Jones, Devontae Smith thing.
Yeah.
Kyle Trask was actually a finalist that same year when it probably should have been Kyle Pitts if we were talking about the person who made Florida's offense special.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I can get on board with that.
You can't
put Julian Sayin, but I also think if you put Julian Sayin on another team that didn't have Jeremiah Smith, now there may have been some more growing pains. It probably wouldn't have come as easily.
Yeah.
But once he got developed or got comfortable, I think Julian Sayin was going to be a good quarterback no matter where you put him.
Yeah. Carnell Tate's really good. He also has 17 less receiving yards coming into the weekend, I think, and Jeremiah Smith had 10 receptions for 100. He just does things, even on 5-yard gains, that make my head explode. And I don't know, maybe this is an irrelevant conversation, but I feel like it's really difficult when you have 3 really good players that should be in contention, like picking which one. Like, we always default to quarterback, and maybe that's just the nature of the trophy. But we'll
just give it to Arvell Reese. That'll be fine.
Yeah.
Won't hurt my feelings.
Hopping up on 3 ballots, but
he's really awesome too. That's the problem with Ohio State. There's so many good players, but Ari, this next week is going to be pretty spectacular because this has now set the table for really wild stuff in the ACC. You got a couple really big games in the SEC. We're going to be at Texas, Georgia. We're going to Athens, so that's going to be absolutely spectacular. You've got Oklahoma, Alabama next week. You've got Minnesota's going to Oregon.
We have one.
Is Oregon going to have to play another Big Ten West game?
Probably, yeah. Although I don't know if Minnesota is good enough to drag them into Oregon.
If Darius Taylor plays, they have a chance. If he can't play it, we want to talk about it.
Before we finish the show, we have to acknowledge a game that happened on Friday night.
Memphis and Tulane, yes.
We didn't talk about it. It was a Friday night game. It was an incredible game. Tulane beat Memphis 38-32. We both believe, as should you, that the winner of the American is going to be the Group of 5 representative in the playoff. And now the American, Memphis.
Unless Duke wins, and then they're 2.
Yes, you should start the Duke can screw up or Duke can screw up the power dominant dynamic of the CFP. Like Darian Menza has a chance to do something that won't be happening very often. I would read that, but the American now has 5 teams with 1 loss. It feels like Memphis is now eliminated from CFP contention. Navy is 5-1, and they are alone.
Memphis is not eliminated because they have the head-to-head against USF, so they're not out.
Yeah. They play Navy too, who's ahead of them in the ranking. I don't know. I need to go through and add up like who controls their own destiny and who plays who. But when you have 5 teams with 1 loss and you have 2, it seems kind of hard to figure out a way that they're going to get this late in the season, but they might still be able to. Here are the rankings as of right now. Navy is 5-1 in American play. South Florida is 4-1. Tulane is 4-1. Tulane also owns now, obviously, the head-to-head over Memphis. North Texas is 4-1. East Carolina is 4-1, and Memphis is 4-2.
And so, the next big one among these is next week, USF at Navy.
Yes, but Memphis was losing by a lot on Friday night, heading into the fourth quarter, and they had a few. And they were down 38.
They fought back. Yes.
They were down 21 points going into the fourth quarter. They scored 15 points and had the ball multiple times, down 6 late in that game, and Tulane's defense got stops. But it looked like they were going to do the same thing that they did to USF, which was erase a 17-point fourth quarter lead to win. They had plenty of opportunity to win that game. It was cool to see the crowd come alive because they were losing by a lot at one point. They just could not get it done. Very entertaining Friday night game. And I just want to express my remorse to everybody who has YouTube TV. That fucking sucks. And there's no other way to put it.
I know. And the fact they've now gone another college football Saturday. So the Monday night football game is Packers-Eagles. If they don't get it back on for Packers-Eagles, I don't know what would prompt them to come to a deal.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the last kind of real pressure point.
And I hate to, I don't like spending other people's money. I will say, though, that for me, who is kind of technologically challenged at times, that the Hulu or ESPN Plus subscription that I bought in order to make sure I could see everything.
Well, no, you didn't do the Hulu live. You got ESPN.
Yeah, I got ESPN.
You got bundled with your Hulu subscription, but not the Hulu Plus Live TV.
I think I ended up paying $20 or $25 more per month for the time being.
Right.
I was able to watch everything I needed to watch the last 2 days.
I was a little mad today. Like, I was trying to get games up on different screens, and the ESPN app limits you to 2 screens. I pay for unlimited screens or unlimited streams for you with YouTube TV. So that's because they're going to give me $20 bill credit if this thing's off, I think through this weekend. That's not enough.
Yeah.
Like, I only have it for this. So,
but if your main
can't get it back on, I am going to cancel YouTube TV if they can't get it back on.
If your main enjoyment is watching college football on fall Saturdays, and if you're here, I'm assuming that's the case. It does blow, but you need to bite the bullet and pay extra.
I mean, because people want to say, well, you can't give your money to Google or you can't give your money to ESPN. Like, I just want to watch the freaking games. ESPN paid all this money for the rights to those games so that when I had to make that decision, I would pick them. That's why they paid all that money, which, by the way, is also why they're raising the prices on people like YouTube TV and Comcast and all those other places, because their margins are thinner, because their overhead is higher. Like, it's the way the world works, unfortunately.
Yeah, it sucks. It sucks. The most aggravating thing to me was trying to figure out what network the games are on. And I don't know if you're one of these people that just knows it's this conference, they'll be on these channels. But I had to constantly go to the ESPN app to figure out what channels games were on. And I found that to be frustrating.
All SEC games are on that one. I will say this, ESPN, your app sucks. Your app is terrible.
It does.
Have a button that says, here's what's on ESPN now, and here's what's on ESPN2, and here's what's on the SEC network. Yeah. So I just clicked that.
Yeah, all I was doing was going to the scoreboard and then opening up the game and then hitting watch this. And then it was lagged, and it was just,
Your algorithm does not consider what games might be the most popular. Your data is telling you which games are the most watched. Put those at the front.
Them to us.
That should be the first thing that comes up. I don't need to be wading through FCS games to find an SEC game.
Yeah. But I think we both wanted to acknowledge that it sucks for the consumer. It sucks for us. It sucks for you. But my hope is that if you're able to do it, that next week, it's just an option that you might have to do, but you do find a way to watch the games that you want to watch. And, I have some games up on my television, some games on the iPad, some on the TV. It's a little bit more, or on the laptop, it's a little bit more of a pain in the ass. But if you can stomach the extra $25, it's probably worth it for the time being.
Yeah. Listen, you're going to be giving the money to some giant corporation that does not care about your feelings. So if you think you're making some sort of statement by not watching college football games you want to watch, you're not. Like, you're going to end up giving them your money. And
I don't want to sound like
we all are
corporation, but like you said, they paid all this money. Like, don't deprive yourself of your own enjoyment and happiness on the few days that we get a year to try to make a statement that they most certainly won't feel. So yeah, I don't know. I was tweeting like, wait, change the channel to this. This is awesome. And like, I get like 12 replies every time. Well,
like, watch it. I don't get that game anymore. Yeah.
Like, I felt bad. Like, I tweeted on Friday night, like, if you're not watching Tulane Memphis, do you really love ball? And then like 25 people responded like, or our freaking provider didn't let us watch it. Fuck you. And I was just like, yeah, I mean, that's messed up. But like, it's anyway, I hope that this is resolved by Monday night. But if it's not, we'll do our best to fill in the blanks. If you don't want to pay that money, we will be here on Tuesday night for the playoff reveal, as we will for the rest of the year.
Oh yeah,
we hope you enjoyed.
It's more fun to watch with us anyway.
Yeah.
Now I got to do my projected playoff, which, by the way, is not going to be what I think the bracket will actually look like at the end of the season, because that's going to be way too confusing for everybody.
Hey, I wanted to ask you. I would do it the way you've been doing it. Just don't change.
I'm going to.
Yeah.
It's essentially going to be a prediction of what I think the committee will do on Tuesday night.
Right.
Which is why my feelings about what we said, all the stuff we said about the Notre Dame Miami thing doesn't matter. Like, the committee told us what they're going to do, so I'm gonna predict it based on what we've seen from them.
And it probably is the right time. I don't want to add more work to your plate. You've got a lot going on. You should do what you do on Saturday night, and then on Wednesday, one of us should just do what do we think it will look like, and then just have the headline, what do we think will happen, or something to differentiate them. They'll be different, and people can't get it
on Tuesday. You mean on Wednesday? That would be a little late because we'll already know.
No. I want you to project what it'll look like at the end of December.
Oh,
so it's different.
That's a great piece of content there, Ari.
Yeah.
Our editors just eyes lighting up. Oh,
yeah. Okay. And if you don't want to do it, I'd be happy to do it, because you and I both did.
Well, here's the thing. They'll put out a graphic for that, which will have the link to the story below it, where if you click the story, it will make perfect sense. The context will all be there. The people who just look at the graphic are going to freak out because again,
it's not your fault they're not paying attention to what you're doing.
Oh, I know. It's just funny. It's do you want your feed clogged with all that? Because, like I said, I'll give the example I'll use is Texas. Texas, if they make the playoff, will be ranked ahead of Georgia and possibly ahead of Texas A&M if they actually make the playoff, because they'll have beaten both of them.
Yeah. It's just whatever you think, man. Andy, we got a request and we haven't done it.
Okay.
Do you want to do the segment again where I go through and tell you why every team sucks?
Yeah, sure. Let's do it.
And the thing that stinks is that when you have a chalk Saturday, like, it might be kind of a rerun from last week, but
Indiana and Oregon gave you some stuff to work with. You got some stuff to play with.
Okay. You ready?
I'm ready.
Ohio State beat Purdue on the road by 34 points. Who have they beaten this year? Every single team that Ohio State has played sucks. Texas is your best win, and you only beat them by 7 at home? You stink.
You're repeating you need new material if you're going to do this every week.
Well, the problem with Ohio State is there's nothing else to do. You want to take a shot at Ohio State?
No, that's why I'm not doing this.
Indiana, the team that wants to be a football school but won't get the respect from legacy programs, finally actually plays a team with good players on it and doesn't win by 50. Who would have thought that would have happened? You're a basketball school. You can't beat Penn State, a team that's lost 6 in a row in the Big Ten by more than 3. You basically lost that game. It took an Olympic athlete to do a high jump and contortion his body into the back of the end zone to beat that terrible team. You stink. Texas A&M, might not be able to go 8-4 this year, but anybody who watched them play this year knows that the spirit of 8-4 exists somewhere. You beat Notre Dame, a team that's vastly overranked by 1 point, and you held the shit out of the guy at the end of the game. Everybody saw it. You held. You're going 9-0 against a crappy SEC team. SEC schedule, you stink. See, it's chalk, dude.
It's very hard. You can't even do Alabama. I mean, because you've already said that the Florida State loss is a fluke and it's over. Oh, by the way, we didn't talk about Florida State Clemson. Florida State lost to Clemson in a game that you should not, as Ari said before, hopefully you didn't actually bet any of your own money on this game because who would have been? Clemson went out to a huge lead, held on. I don't know what this means. Like, I don't know that this definitively does anything for Mike Norvell. Like, I don't know that Florida State makes any decisions. But, God, it was
Let me just tell
lackluster.
You that. And I was right on Alabama. Mike Norvell, like, his pupils were just white on the sideline. Like, that is just a man that knows what's coming. I don't even remember who I picked in this game, Andy. Do you?
I picked Clemson. I don't know who you picked.
That probably means I picked Florida State and had another awful weekend. I'll just roast myself. I spend 80 hours a week thinking, talking, discussing, researching, speaking to coaches, thinking about college football, and I can't pick a winner.
So I started off 0-3. We do 9 picks in each pick show. Chronologically, 0-3. Like the Friday night game, I had Memphis, Tulane, obviously covered because they won outright.
Dude, that should have been the mulligan, man. It was
Penn
the
State,
spread told us what was going to happen, and we
Penn
didn't.
State covered against Indiana, and then what was the other noon? I picked BYU to cover, and Texas Tech easily covered. So I was 0-3, but I finished 5-3-1. So thank you, Auburn, for pushing. Thank you, Iowa.
Yeah, you did good again, and I think I did bad again. So, like, we are just like in bizarro world right now where I can't do anything right. But
well, so next season, this every time the results for the week come in, I just sit there and shudder because next season it's going to be reversed, and you're going to be unstoppable, and I'm not going to be able to pick anybody.
Like, I keep getting bad breaks, like, and that's not all of it, but it's like I picked Auburn +7, and they lost in overtime by 7. It's like, okay.
I also you picked Auburn. You were tailing me on that one.
I did
because I was doing the brains thing and the zombies. Zombies were really over.
Good. Yeah,
zombies were over.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at the other games. A&M and Missouri. I think I picked Mizzou.
You did
was wrong.
Yeah,
I picked Oregon. That was wrong.
Yeah, somebody Auburn, in the chat very early said. I'm here for you guys to say nice things about my Ags, but you said 7 would be a lot to cover. I'm like, no. Ari said 7 would be a lot to cover.
Yeah. No, it wasn't a lot to cover. I picked Bama. Yeah, we'll go through it on Monday, but yeah, I thought it was a very entertaining Saturday, revelatory Saturday.
Can I give you one more game next week that is?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess it could affect the playoff if it's a major upset, but. Florida plays at Ole Miss next week. It's going to be spectacular. The Lane Kiffin interviews, the Lane Kiffin tweets, everything Lane Kiffin is going to be hilarious this week.
I am looking forward to Oregon, Minnesota together. That'll be fun. Pitt, Notre Dame, big game, like you said. Oklahoma, Alabama.
Oh, no. See, so the Oregon, Minnesota game is a Friday night game, right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna watch that together in suburban Athens. I'm warning you and producer River right now. I am going to be insufferable because my son's team they won Friday. They've got a game in Orlando on Friday night, and I won't be there. And I will be watching on the stream. And you came last year to one of his games when you were covering a game in Gainesville. He wasn't playing very much. He was only a freshman. Now that he plays basically every down both ways, I'm a lunatic during these games.
As you should be.
A complete lunatic.
So, like, is there a chance that they'll have it streaming?
I hope so. It's at a bougie school in Orlando, so I my hopes are high. So
yeah,
but I'm just warning you. You guys probably will not want to be around me. I will be insufferable.
No, I'm going to be rooting with you. I want your kid to prosper, man. Well, we'll be having a good time. Yeah, but really looking forward. We will be in Athens next week for the Texas Georgia game. I'm assuming we will be somewhere in the parking lots areas around. Come see us.
Yes, we will get the address. We'll put the info out where to come find us. That is a night game. It is a 7:30 p.m. Eastern time kick. So there's going to be plenty of time to go hang with us and our friends from Modelo. That's right. So all the full-time fans, come on out because we want to see you. We had a blast at Ohio State, and that was a noon game where people weren't as excited because Penn State wasn't what they thought it was going to be. This game is going to be spectacular. This is Texas's. I believe it's Texas's first trip to Austin. I don't know if they've played in Austin before. So, I mean, they played in Austin a bunch. To Athens, I don't think they've played at Sanford Stadium before. So, this is going to be spectacular. Huge stakes. Texas fighting for its playoff life. Georgia trying to make the SEC championship game. It's going to be awesome. So we will see you, and there will be Modelo. There'll be Modelo Oro, Shalada. It's going to be spectacular. We'll see you guys. Sunday because we got to break down the conference races. I will just be spending the whole night with the ACC championship game tiebreaker calculator.
I cannot be trusted to do that correctly.
I don't think it matters. I don't think anything we say tomorrow will matter because it's so messed up. We'll talk to you tomorrow.